The woman was up on the side of a mountain, picking berries with her family. Her mother, her sister, her 3 brothers, maybe the dog.
She'd picked this huge basket full of berries, a whole day's work.
It was getting late in the evening.
Her family wanted to head back to the village.
No, wait! Just let me fill up this basket. Just a little while longer. Everyone went back down.
Her sister was the only one who stayed on the mountain with her. Finally, her basket was full.
She couldn't get another berry into it.
Then they started down. Her sister, walking ahead, came to a pile of bear scat. Brown bear, grizzly, right in the middle of the trail. She walked around it the way they said a person should, out of respect.
But the one with the basket of berries stepped right over it.
She slipped and fell and scattered all those berries, every one.
A whole day's work. They rolled all over down that mountain. They rolled everywhere. And she said,
something disrespectful and vulgar in our language used against the bear. In our culture, we are taught to respect all things, especially the bears. And to curse an animal or make fun of it is against everything we know.
She started to pick up all those fallen berries, still muttering to herself.
Her sister offered to help her, but
Didn't
she
want-
was still mad.
Didn't want any help. She sent her sister back to the village. After a while, it got pretty dark, so she took what she could and headed back down the trail.
That's when she ran into this young man.
A handsome young man.
Her heart nearly stopped.
Partly because she was startled.
Partly because he was the most handsome young man she'd ever seen in her life. She couldn't speak, had no words, and he smiled at her sort of gently. Come and go with me, live with me, be my wife. And she still couldn't speak, so she just went.
So young brother and his dog climbed up the mountain, and they found the spilt berries, and the basket, and all the young woman's clothing.
And they found footprints in the mud.
Footprints of a human woman heading up the mountain.
And walking beside them,
Footprints of a
grizzly bear.
The young woman truly loved the man she went with,
He was good to her, kind and gentle.
and he treated her well. They ate well.
They lived well. They were happy.
Things were strange to her, but she didn't know it.
When it seemed like they were passing along,
Really, they had crossed the mountain. Time was different.
things were different, but she didn't know it then.
Late in the fall time, he took her to his village to meet his people.
It was a big village built along the river, everyone living in comfortable houses.
There was children and old people.
All kinds of people. They were putting up salmon for the winter,
They were good to her.
showed her how to do it their way.
The salmon tastes delicious. It was warm in their houses at night.
Plenty of robes and blankets, big fires.
But he told her.
If you wake before morning, don't look around at any of my relatives.
Why?
Just don't look at them.
But 4 nights later, she woke up.
She remembered what her husband had told her, but she couldn't help it. She opened her eyes and looked. And when she saw that she wasn't living in a house, but some kind of cave. Nothing was the way it appeared as it did in the daytime.
And all the people sleeping all around her weren't human beings at all.
Every one of them was a brown bear.
She looked over at her husband.
He was awake, but he looked the same.
Are you afraid now?
She said no, but she really was.
She must have been.
Because the very next day,
Even though all of her in-laws looked like people again,
She asked her husband if they could leave that place.
go off themselves.
He said they could.
And they packed up and went farther, farther to the mountains.
that dog, chewing ribs, never lost their scent. He stayed on them, leading the younger brother.
The older brothers had joined them by then.
They carried spears,
Bows,
arrows.
they were
Going after their sister.
She and her husband came to a place high on the mountainside. She liked it.
They built a house and they went inside.
It started to snow.
Nighttime.
They slept.
And what seemed like one night to her was really a month.
Once she woke up in the night.
Her husband's arm was around her. She touched it.
It was the claw of a bear.
Ishan Uhan.
Now are you scared? He watched her for a while.
Then he took down a necklace he had and put it around his neck.
He went out to go hunting. He never took any weapons with him, just that necklace.
Those must be his teeth, she said to herself. That's what a bear hunts with. Their teeth.
At the end of the day, he came back with food. They ate.
They slept again.
When they woke up the next morning,
Another month had gone by.
he told her about a dream he'd had in a long night. Your brothers are getting closer. They want to kill me.
It's wrong to hurt your brothers-in-law.
I know it. And he put on his necklace of knives again and went out to hunt.
The next morning, it was February.
She had given birth to 2 children, a boy and a girl.
She loved him very much.
Her husband was a good father to them.
He loved them too.
Down below, in the valley,
Her brothers were having a bad time. It was a hard winter. Lots of snow, not much to eat.
The youngest brother was always watching the dog.
he knew they were getting closer. He took some sacred leaves
And he handled them carefully.
And he prepared them properly.
and he made medicine out of them.
The other brothers didn't do it.
But the youngest one was preparing himself for the bear.
Your brothers are making medicine against me.
How do you know all this?
I see them in my dreams.
Night again, her husband was asleep beside her.
She touched him, spurred all over.
She took a round rock and she rubbed it all over him, the pick of his scent.
She took another rock and rubbed it all over herself. Her scent.
And then she took both of those rocks and rolled them down the steep mountainside. Down, 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 down into the brothers' cave.
Junior saw them and he knew who the sons belonged to. The gardener stood up on the back of his neck and he started to growl.
In the morning,
Her husband looked at her for a long time.
She couldn't look back. Today they will find me.
He didn't say anything else. He stayed in the house that day.
Close to his wife and his 2 little children, the son, the daughter. He stayed close to them.
For a time it was quiet. Then,
They heard the barking of a dog right outside their house.
and the thoughts of the youngest brother penetrated
youngest brother shows them the bear they had just killed.
The biggest brown bear any of them had ever seen. Dead.
They heard the dog barking.
And then they hear him stop.
They looked at each other. Then they climbed up to the bear den.
Inside they see her,
Their sister.
huddled naked in the corner.
With the two children, she was crying.
She didn't have to be told. You killed your brother-in-law. You must be very careful with his body. You must do exactly as I tell you.
They listened to what she had to say.
And they did what she asked.
And afterwards they gave her the skin, the bear skin.
And she said, "Now take me to my mother."
They fixed up a house for her in the village, for her and her two children.
It was away from the other houses, on the edge of the village.
It was the way she wanted it. The people didn't know what to say to her. She was a stranger to them.
Even her own mother, even her sister. She would spend hours looking up into the mountains.
She could see smoke. It wasn't real smoke, smoke from human fires, but bear smoke. Smoke from the dens of bears where bears lived. She tried to show it to her brothers, but none of them could ever see it. So she would sit there by herself, looking up there.
She would get all of her own food for her and her children.
Nobody helped her. It was the way she wanted it too.
So she and her children went up on the mountain.
About the bear skin she had. They saw the way she carried it on her back everywhere she went.
And how she put it out every evening to face the setting sun.
Put it on, they told her, so we can follow you and practice our hunting.
We won't hurt you, we'll only use bark tips on our arrows.
Why do you want me to do that? Don't you know what will happen? They'll come for me then. Then I'll be one of them for good. Put it on so we can practice and follow in hunting.
So she went to her mother and she told her goodbye. Then she went up to the mountain with her two cubs.
The brothers moved with their bows and arrows.
And what they saw come out of the woods was a bear with two cubs.
A real bear.
Not a dancer.
Not a person with fur robe on.
The two oldest brothers
Became afraid
they threw away their bark arrows.
and took out their bone ones.
The bear saw them and was on them. The sow bear and two cubs. They took the two brothers and they killed them. After all, the youngest brother came out of his house.
With his dog, chewing ribs.
He saw a sow bear and two cubs heading up the mountain.
Chewing ribs started to bark and leap.
But the youngest brother grabbed him by the collar and held him back.
And they watched those bears until they were long out of sight and gone.